Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the VP Fuels Road to Indy Finale Weekend. My name's Rob Haddon. We'll be joined by Parker Thompson throughout the weekend here on Road to Indy TV. We say hello to those of you who are around the racetrack right now. I know a lot of campers coming in to be part of the action this weekend. Full day of sessions yesterday. The Skip Barber program with us here as well. Both Indy Pro 2000 and Indy Lights on the racetrack yesterday for a single practice session. We start off today here with USF2000. These drivers rolling out for their first time on the racetrack here this weekend. And it will be a packed day here on Road to Indy TV as practice for USF2000, qualifying for race number one for all three of the programs as part of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. And, of course, main events as well. There are championships up for grabs this weekend. Excited to see who ends up being the title winners when we're all said and done here on Sunday afternoon. Obviously in USF 2000, Kiko Porto with a chance to clinch the championship here today in race number one with a finish of fourth or better. Indy Lights and Indy Pro 2000 a little closer in terms of the championship battle. Both those championships very similar in terms of the gap between first and second. But we're looking forward to what should be a great weekend. Yesterday was absolutely perfect. Blue skies, gorgeous weather. Today looking pretty good as well. 55 degrees ambient temperature trackside here at Mid-Ohio. A potential to get up into the high 70s. No rain in the forecast for today. That said, tomorrow a much different story. Potential for a front to come through to give us some precipitation. So that could most definitely change things and the way we approach our final rounds when we go racing tomorrow. 22 drivers in total, part of the program here this weekend for the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. Of course, the final round of the 2021 championship, and it has been a great one so far. Which driver is going to get that scholarship to move to the Indy Pro 2000 Championship next year? Super excited to see who's able to get that done. Really, it comes down to a battle between Kiko Porto from D-Force Racing and Michael D'Orlando from Cape Motorsports, two drivers who I think from the very start of this season, the onset, in doing previews early in the year, talking about these guys were part of that group that we expected to be in the championship fight, the returnees from the 2020 season, and not surprising to see both these drivers of course, in a position to potentially battle for the championship when we get here to the finale. This wasn't scheduled to be the finale, of course, for USF 2000 or Indy Pro. That was going to be the New Jersey Motorsports Park weekend at the end of August. But with the cancellation of the Honda Indy Toronto earlier in the year, this secondary date at Mid-Ohio walked in to make sure that we were able to bring all of our series together once again to cap things off. So all three series obviously ready to go. It's a kind of a transition year, of course, for Anderson Promotions. Those of you who stay close contact with the series and like to watch these young drivers come up through the ranks. The Indy Lights program going back under the stewardship of IndyCar for 2022. And then, of course, USF 2000, Indy Pro still positioned where they are on the ladder. Anderson Promotions excited to finally announce a program that's been in the works for the last couple of months, and that is the USF Juniors series. Which will essentially slot right between the Lucas Oil School of Racing Formula Car Series, which is the official Formula Car school of the Road to Indy, and that and the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. Nice little set in there. We've seen a lot of drivers, of course, come from the F4 program into USF 2000. This, of course, just brings a USF Juniors program, that kind of F4 style, that power level into our actual ladder system. Drivers getting on the racetrack now, just getting a feel for it. Skip Barber cars part of the action here this weekend. They were out on the racetrack earlier today with, I think, 10 cars in total in their Formula Car Series here this weekend. So the track's still relatively green early, and as I had said, just 55 degrees here trackside. Getting some good shots around the racetrack here. This is turn number 9, that cresting over the hill, right-hander, off-camber. Very tough part of the racetrack coming into Thunder Valley. Good shot here of the final part of the racetrack at the carousel, final corners of the track here at Mid-Ohio, back out onto the front straightaway. Shot coming under the bridge of turn number 1. Here's the shot up into the keyhole. We'll be watching this throughout the weekend. A passing opportunity, most certainly, coming into what is turn number 2 here at the racetrack. This is the kink turn number 3. Not really much of a corner, to be honest, just keeping the drivers pinched to the right side of the racetrack as they kind of apex through there. Then we'll get the shot down, a downhill run into turn number 4. I love this particular shot here for this weekend. Great passing opportunity there. Downhill, a little bit longer of a braking zone as a result. Then we got the shot here through Madness, which is 4, 5, and 6. Back up the hill. This particular shot doesn't really give you any real feel of the massive elevation change coming through that particular part of the racetrack. As you go through 4, you're climbing back up the hill to turn number 5, then back down. Better shot here into turn number 6, exit of 6. Then that little left-hander over the hill, 7 and 8. Little short shoot, more of a kind of just a curving run back into that turn number 9 corner into Thunder Valley once again. Nolan Siegel, fast driver so far, is D-Force, 1, 2, 3. Nolan Siegel, and then Prescott Campbell and Kiko Porto. Siegel, quickest driver, a 124.772. Josh Pearson for Pabst Racing, now jumping up into the second spot. Siegel and Prescott, 2 drivers we expect to make the jump into the Indy Pro 2000 category next year. Have done a couple of years in USF and have shown well. Of course, Siegel getting his first career Road to Indy victory at New Jersey Motorsports Park back in August. A strong run for the driver at Palo Alto, California. He's the quickest so far on the racetrack. Josh Pearson second. Prescott Campbell third. Kiko Portal, your point leader, coming into the weekend in that 4th position. Unofficially, if he finishes top 4 in the main event this afternoon, race number 1, Kiko Porto will clinch the championship at USF 2000. Josh Green in the 5th spot. Yuvan Sundaramurthy 6th. Bejoy Garg 7th. Jace Denmark in 8th. Jackson Lee back. Good to have Jackson back in his J. Howard driver development machine, the driver from Avon, Indiana. Back with us once again. For this weekend, drivers using a carryover set of tires from the New Jersey Motorsports Park weekend for the opening practice. Don't expect that we'll see anybody throw fresh tires on an early morning session like this. Save that for qualifying. Mid-Ohio, pretty tough on tires, but also crucial for qualifying. Where you qualify, really kind of indicative of where you're going to finish the race. If you're in the top quarter, you're likely going to finish in the top quarter because it is so tough to pass here. Turn 2, turn 4, the primary overtaking opportunities. A busy day, as I said here, for all the drivers in this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Qualifying, opening races. Quick look here. We'll follow up this practice session for USF 2000, 9:25 Eastern, qualifying for race 1 for Indy Lights. We'll follow that at 10:20 for qualifying for Indy Pro 2000. 11:45 qualifying 1 for USF 2000, then jumping right into the first of 2 Indy Lights races this weekend. 1 o'clock start time for Indy Lights race number 1, 2:05 for Indy Pro, and 3:50 to cap off the day for Road to Indy action for USF 2000, the first of 2 races. Tomorrow, press the reset button. We'll do it all again with qualifying and racing. 8 a.m. start for USF 2000, 9:30 Indy Pro 2000 qualifying, 8:45 for Indy Lights. Little break in the action, 11 o'clock a.m. start for USF 2000, 12 o'clock for Indy Lights and 1:10 for Indy Pro. So we'll wrap things up here likely sometime around 2:30 and get ourselves set up for what will be our championship celebration, the season-ending banquet on Sunday evening, where we will dole out over $3.1 million worth of scholarships and prizes. Josh Green for Turn 3 Motorsport now to the top of the chart here now, 123.170 rather. 123.170 for Josh Green. Josh Pearson in second. Jace Denmark now up to third. Impressive rookie throughout this season here, Jace Denmark. Michael D'Orlando now goes P1. This is a race where Michael D'Orlando essentially needs to come in and dominate. Kiko Portal coming in with, as we know, a really solid points advantage. A 121.29, the track record set by Kyle Kirkwood back in 2018. Kiko Porter with a 49-point lead. Only 66 points on offer on the weekend. Just got to get himself to 386 points, which would be 18 points in total, 19 points to finish fourth. If he gets to that 386, nobody can catch him, and that's what he needs to do. Top four finish, enough for Kiko Porto here today. Josh Green still with the fast time. Drivers working their way onto the front straightaway here right now, getting a feel for the racetrack and the particular grip level. It'll be different than we saw earlier in the year when we were here, raced with the NTT IndyCar Series, and a lot of rubber going down every time they head onto the racetrack. We're not going to see that this particular weekend, so a lot lower grip. Of course, temperatures much lower as well than they were when we were back here earlier in the year. We may get up to 77 degrees. That's what we're forecasting for a high, so that's a pretty nice day here in an early October weekend. Josh Green leading the way, got about a 10th on Nolan Siegel. Kiko Porto third, Chase Denmark fourth, Michael D'Orlando fifth, Josh Pearson sixth, Spike Kolbecker in seventh, Yuvan Sundaramur the eighth, Prescott Campbell ninth, and Bajoy Garg in 10th. 22 drivers in total in the field here this weekend. Welcoming back Andre Castro with Legacy Autosport. Congratulations to Andre as well for being named to the Team USA Scholarship for 2021. He and Max Esterson will race at the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch and the Walter Hayes Trophy at Silverstone. Jeremy Shaw coming out with his selections for the drivers that he has named to Team USA for 2021. And good to see Andre back with us here with Legacy, as I said, currently sitting in the 20th position. That Legacy car was pretty good here last time we were here at Mid-Ohio with Simon Sykes behind the wheel. Simon, a couple of podium finishes. Had a really good run mid-season. Simon not with us here this weekend, actually racing with Rice Race Prep. Not too far from here, actually, just over in Indianapolis at the Speedway. The SCCA runoffs happening this particular weekend. Josh Green now 0.3 quicker than Jace Denmark, getting down to a 121.947. About 0.7 of a second off the track record. 121.9. We'll see what happens as it warms up a bit. Qualifying for drivers in USF2000. 11:45 today, right around the noon hour. Set the grid for their 3:50 p.m. race, first of two this weekend. Again, drivers on those carryover tires from the New Jersey Motorsport Part event, so nobody on fresh tires here for this particular practice session. This kind of always takes a little off in terms of how much weight you can put on the speed you'll see in these sessions, because you never know who had a good set of tires left over from New Jersey and how good that set was. Did one driver potentially crash out early in a race? Maybe they only got a couple of laps, so they got super fresh tires coming in. Another driver running the entire session, so the tires a lot more worn than they would be coming in here. Of course, had some rain that weekend as well. A number of the drivers went out on the dries during those sessions and potentially burnt those tires off. So don't put a crazy amount of weight into exactly where everybody sits in the order. Of course, when they put the fresh tires on for qualifying later today and this morning, that's when we're going to get a better feel for it. Jace Denmark on top now, 121.860. Jace has got quicker and quicker throughout the season. Jace from Scottsdale, Arizona, running for Pabst Racing. Nolan Siegel back up top, too. Now 121.8. Make it Josh Green, 121.6. These guys are flirting with some pretty good times here right now. Of course, qualifying coming at 11:45. It'll be significantly warmer. We'll see whether or not that raise in temperature affects their ability to get these speeds, because the engines do like this cool temperature, that's for sure. And right now, Josh Green down to a 121.680, just 0.4 of a second off of the fast lap. Green, Denmark, Siegel, Sundaramurthy, Kohlbecker, top 5. Kiko Porto now 6th. D'Orlando 7th. Josh Pearson 8th. Prescott Campbell 9th. And Evan Stammer rounding out the top 10. Miles Rowe, big victory at New Jersey Motorsports Park. That tremendous run in that wet weather race. Rowe in the number 99 for Force Indy, currently in 11th. Thomas Nepvu, the Canadian for Cape Motorsports, in 12th. Joy Garg now 13th, Jackson Lee 14th, Dylan Christie 15th. Still a long way to go in the session, over 13 minutes. I know that the USF2000 drivers were kind of milling around through the paddock yesterday. They were anxious to get back behind the wheel, and that's for sure. They've waited for a long time. You think about it, they didn't drive these cars essentially since the late August. So it's been a full month since they've had a chance to get back behind the wheel. A lot of chatter throughout the day yesterday about the new USF Juniors program, which is, of course, part of, will essentially be the lead-in to the Road to Indy program. Road to Indy, of course, USF2000, Indy Pro, and Indy Lights. So this USF Juniors program, the feeder series into the Road to Indy. It'll be a perfect place for drivers coming out of the Lucas Oil School of Racing to make that move into that level of program, horsepower, and downforce. For 2022, the series will run the Ligier F4 race package with the HPD power plant, finalizing the specs of the chassis in the program for the 2023 series. There'll be a brand new car with a halo for 2023. That horsepower number will come right into the point where it's a good development program before jumping up into USF2000. Giving these drivers a chance to be part of this Road to Indy culture. The race direction will come from Johnny Unser and Joel Miller, the race directors for USF2000 and Indy Pro. Anderson Promotions also bringing on Gabby Chavez to be part of the family, a driver who worked his way up through the Road to Indy, was a former Indy Lights champion and Indy 500 starter, IndyCar driver. Gabby will be the driver coach for all the drivers in the USF Juniors program, get a chance to work closely with the drivers who potentially need more work, whatever it may be. Representation from the AMR IndyCar safety team will be part of the action as well, part of the program. Lots of great stuff coming for USF Juniors for 2022. Really the final piece in the full ladder from karting all the way up into the NTT IndyCar Series. Drivers, of course, coming out of karting, they got to get their racing license. So you go to the Lucas Oil School of Racing, run their school to get their license there, their basic school, their advanced school, work into their winter series and their Formula Car series. From there, you make the move up into USF Juniors. Scholarship, of course, for $200,000. Over $200,000 plus, I believe. I don't think they've locked the exact number down in, but at least $200,000 scholarship to move then into USF2000. And, of course, jumping into the program, which has been so successful over the last 11 years. D'Orlando now to the top with a 121.357. Very close to the track record. Of course, track record needing to be set in a qualifying run. Good speed right now, though. 121.357 for D'Orlando. He's got about a tenth on Yuvan Sundaramurthy. Josh Pearson third, Kiko Porto fourth, and Josh Green, who's been near the pointy end of this grid the entire time, currently fifth. Two Pabst drivers working their way there through the keyhole. Here's a shot coming out of turn number 2. That run down the long straightaway here at Mid-Ohio through the kink turn 3. Down into the braking zone of turn number 4. Driver setting up to the far left of that racetrack. On the brakes, back down a couple gears. Get back on the throttle and roll through turn number 4, back up to the top of turn 5. Back down to turn 6. There's an opportunity to pass in turn number 6. It's a tough one. Driver has to kind of make a mistake in 5 to open it up. Get a better run, better rotation on the top of 5 coming back down the hill. As they move to the left side of the racetrack to set up for 6, you can potentially go down the inside there. This is one of the toughest parts of the racetrack there, that entry to Thunder Valley, the off-camber, turn number 9. Easy to go too far left on the racetrack, potentially drop a wheel on the other side of the rumble strips, and it kind of drags you off the racetrack. See that a lot in that particular corner. The Orlando down to a 121.288. Yeah, 121.288. That's quicker than the... No, pardon me, that's quicker than the race record. Let me correct myself. That's Kyle Kirkwood race record 121.2. No, how about another second for Matthew Brabham back in the early days of the Road to Indy program. Yeah, August the 4th, 2012, 9 years ago. Different race car, different tire compound. That was the old Van Diemen USF2000 car, 120.250. So, the Orlando quicker than the race record that was set in 2018, but not the qualifying record. I don't know that we'll ever get down to that qualifying record that Matthew Brabham had back in 2012. Totally different package. More downforce on that race car. Much more downforce on the race car that we have now. Still good lap times. The Orlando now second as Jace Denmark's gone back up top as the fuel load starts going down. Temperature starts coming up a little bit. Drivers getting quicker and quicker. Again, we say hello to those of you who are tuned into the Road to Indy TV app. Good to have you on board with us throughout the weekend. The VP Fuels RTI finale. Big shout out to VP Fuels, our title sponsor for the finale weekend. $3.1 million in scholarships, cash, and prizes being doled out Sunday evening. Figure out which driver is going to take that $1.25 million scholarship and move to the NTT IndyCar Series in 2022. Top 3 drivers in Indy Lights, of course, getting a chance as well to test an Indy car at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course the Friday before the Chris Griffiths Memorial Test on October 30th and 31st. Stingray Robb will also get a chance to test that Indy car after his Indy Pro 2000 championship last year. That's, of course, what the Indy Pro 2000 championship drivers are battling for this year as well. Not only the scholarship to move to Indy Lights, but the chance to run that Indy car in 2022 rather. Chase Denmark on top, 121.115. Just 900ths quicker than D. Orlando, who's got a pretty good race car here to start this weekend. No real need for the promoters test day as we often have in the opening parts of these weekends. They've been to Mid-Ohio quite a bit. A lot of testing's been done here. Raced here once already this year. Just come on in here and get the job done. For USF2000, just 2 days on the racetrack. They were not on the racetrack yesterday as Indy Pro and Indy Lights were for a single practice session. Here's your current top 5. Jace Denmark in the number 23. Michael D. Orlando in the 4. Josh Pearson in the 24. Josh Green in the 33. And Spike Kohlbecker in that number 5 for Ignite Autosport with Cape Motorsports. Top 14 drivers separated by less than a second at this point. Drivers working their way up into turn number 2, the keyhole. Off camber, downhill, right hand, essentially wide hairpin. It is a tough part of the racetrack. Can't really call it a hairpin, even though it is a 180-degree turn in terms of direction, but a big, wide, kind of sweeping corner. Very tough. You get that urge to get back on the throttle early, but you got to wait for the car to take that set because it's off camber, it's downhill. Car's going to want to rotate on you. To lose that rear end. Get it rotated, get back in the power, get it back out to the rumbles on the exit, and stay on the rumbles, which a lot of guys will go too far off on the exit as well. When you get back on that throttle, the car wants to kind of shoot out on you. Jace Denmark for Pabst Racing. Fastest driver right now. Impressive for Jace. Unsure of Jace's plans for 2022, but if he were to come back to USF 2000, he'll be one of those contenders immediately running for a championship. Denmark P1, Green second, D'Orlando third, Pearson fourth, Sundar Murthy in fifth. Even Sundar Murthy, race winner this year. Multiple race wins for Juven. Expect him to see him move to the Indy Pro 2000 category next year. A lot of the top drivers in USF 2000, I think, moving up. Got to expect the Josh Green, Michael D'Orlando, Josh Pearson, Sundar Murthy, Nolan Siegel, Kiko Porto, potentially all making the move up. Prescott Campbell. Two and a half minutes remaining in the lone practice session for USF 2000 here this weekend. Drivers cresting that hill and leveraging the yellow rumble strip, the exit curbing. Look, you can see the car break loose a bit on the exit. So easy to do there in turn number 9. You try to rotate the car. The quicker you rotate, the quicker you can get it pointed and back on the throttle. But every once in a while it over-rotates. And you got to get a bunch of wheel into it to try to make sure it doesn't go around on you. Denmark a 121.115, Green 121.148, 0.03 of a second separating first and second. Denmark, Green, and D'Orlando all within the same 1/10 of a second. Push that 1 second bracket window all the way back into 15th now as Bajoy Garg laying down a good lap time. Trey Burke's been impressive throughout the year, getting better and better. Driver, of course, who came in at the start of the season with no road racing experience, veteran of dirt oval racing, whether it been the micro sprints or midget cars, junior sprint cars. Really been getting a feel for it. Now back in 17th spot, just 1.5 seconds back. Another driver has improved throughout the season, Evan Stammer for Ignite Autosport with Cape Motorsports. Evan, a top kart racer, got a chance to get an opportunity to run USF 2000, did the Lucas Oil School of Racing in the Winter Series to prepare himself. Big dive into the USF 2000 pool, and throughout the season has got better and better, much more consistent. And Evan now within 0.8. Again, Indy Pro 2000, they will qualify a little later on this morning, 10:20. We'll have a bit of a break in the action for us before we get back on it. We have a driver spinning coming out of turn number 1. Yeah, driver's gone around in turn number 1 there. So this is essentially going to end this session. Indeed, checker flag has flown. And they're going to drive around in turn number 1. Not quite sure who that is. Fast lap so far, Jace Denmark, a 121.115. Driver's going to come across the alternate timing line coming out of turn number 9 just that one more time. You can see the checker flag flying down in that particular corner. Here's turn 4. Again, drivers finishing off the lap they have on track, maximizing this session. Although we did have a driver go around in turn number 1 and the exit of turn number 1. Being told it's the number 91 of Billy Fraser, who has gone around in the exit of 1. Yeah, indeed, there's Billy Fraser in the Cambridge Global Payments machine. Trying to carry a little more corner speed to that last lap. Kind of looped around. Nonetheless, Jace Denmark. There's, we'll pick up there. Just off to the inside of the racetrack. Not sure if he's high-centered or just needs to kind of get the car to re-fired, but Billy Fraser, for the New Zealand driver, off. Jace Denmark with a fast lap of 121.115 as the cars all come back to pit lane. We'll then head all the way back to their paddock areas. Jace Denmark with a 121.115. Josh Green back by just over 0.03 of a second. Green in the Turn 3 Motorsports number 33, second. Euven Sundermurley for Pabst Racing in third. Michael D'Orlando fourth, back by less than a tenth of a second, so top 4 within a tenth. Josh Pearson was 5th in the 24. Kiko Porto in 6th spot. Nolan Siegel in 7th. Spike Kolbecker 8th. Miles Rowe 9th. And Prescott Campbell rounding out the top 10. Christian Weir making another start here ahead of what we expect to be a full program for the young driver out of Illinois. Weir, the number 32 for Turn 3 Motorsports in 11th. Thomas Nepfu 12th. Bejoy Gargan 13th. Eli Navarro 14th. Evan Stammer 15th. Dylan Christie is in 16th. 17th, Jackson Lee, his last lap, his best. Billy Fraser in 18th. Trey Burke, 19th. Andre Castro, Michael Myers, and Kent Vaccaro rounding out the field of 22 drivers that we have in USF 2000. So that caps off their session, their lone practice session. They'll be back on the racetrack at 11:45 a.m. To get things rolling for their qualifying, their first race. Let's pick up Indy Pro 2000 getting ready to roll as well. Or rather, Indy Lights and Indy Pro. 9:25 start time, so we're only about 10 minutes away from Indy Lights drivers coming onto the racetrack. That's your kind of race order for the day. USF 2000, Indy Lights, then Indy Pro. And again, folks, 10 minutes away, Indy Lights drivers on the racetrack. They will qualify for race number 1 at 9:25. Lots of action coming to you here from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the 2021 VP Fuels RTI finale. Stay with us, folks. So much more to come here on the Road to Indy TV app. course, it is the finale weekend, the championship weekend for the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. My name is Rob Howden. I'll be joined throughout the weekend by Parker Thompson, the host of Road to Indy TV. It's time to crown our champions. Now, we have a lot of action still to come. Practice yesterday for both Indy Lights and Indy Pro 2000. USF 2000 not getting onto the racetrack until earlier today. In fact, just about a half an hour ago, getting their one practice session in. Now it's time to roll into qualifying for Indy Lights, Indy Pro, and USF 2000. 3 races today, 1 event of the doubleheader for each of the categories. Then, of course, tomorrow, qualifying for race 2, and those events will come later in the day. Championships up for grabs, as we know. Indy Lights and Indy Pro, pretty much the same gap. Kyle Kirkwood versus David Malukas. Kirkwood coming off a tremendous West Coast run at Portland and WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. It should be interesting them getting on the racetrack right now, folks, because qualifying getting set to go. This should be some pretty good action. Really the first opportunity to see who does have speed. Kirkwood was quick yesterday, as were the Juncos Hollinger Racing drivers, Stingray Rob, and as well the rest of that field looking very, very good. And again, Rasmus Lint, the driver who is part of the program with Juncos Hollinger as well. But Kirkwood getting things underway cleanly yesterday, which was an impressive run for him. Able to, again, out of the gate here as a driver, having some trouble, and that is Christian Bogle in the number 7 coming over turn number 9. That's the right-hander that leads into Thunder Valley. Very tough part of this racetrack at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. So Bogle just a little bit loose coming through there. But again, kind of getting back to yesterday a little bit as we kind of preface this session here for Indy Lights, the qualifying for race number 1. Kyle Kirkwood was the quickest with a 1:12.288. That was his fast time, turning a total of 23 laps. Most drivers right in that window, 20 to 25 laps in terms of that practice session. As I said, Stingray Rob and Rasmus Lint were second and third yesterday for Juncos Hollinger Racing. We do have a replay of the incident that happened just as we came live here out of our studio shot. That was Christian Bogle on cold tires, losing it coming out of turn number 9. You can see him trying to roll back on the throttle, the rear's breaking loose. Did a pretty good job to get some counter steer into that. And I think with the yellow flags flying, basic to be, like he probably didn't go too much farther over. You can see him kind of slowing off, probably 4 wheels off, but able to get that car woed up nicely. So Bogle was 10th yesterday in the order for Carlin Racing, a 1:13.463, his fast lap. The top 5 indeed were Kyle Kirkwood, Stingray Rob, Rasmus Lint, Benjamin Peterson, and David Malukas. And indeed, there's the shot there. And Bogle not able to continue. That's why the drivers have worked or will work their way back to the pit lane. So Bogle's spin out of turn number 9. We've yet to see him refire that Carlin Dallara IL-15 to get rolling once again. So inauspicious start to our qualifying for race number 1 for the Indy Lights drivers. Drivers are all get themselves back out. We do have the AMR IndyCar safety team with us here this particular weekend. So as the yellow flies, you can see that crew getting in to potentially flat tow him back if he can't get that car refired. Back to 12 cars as well this weekend as P-Serra Racing and Antonio Saravalli back with us again. We have the 2 drivers as well who made their debuts in Indy Lights and Portland, and that's Manuel Suleiman running for HMD Motorsports in the number 59, and again, Rasmus Lint in the number 51 for Juncos Hollinger Racing. Lint, the 2019 runner-up in the Indy Pro 2000 category, was set to go with Bilardi Auto Racing for 2020 before the Indy Lights program was put on hiatus last year. And Rasmus getting a feel for, I think, the car and the team when they were running at Portland, and you could see the speed that he had then when we went to Laguna Seca a week later. Was right in the hunt there, top 5 driver. Had some really good runs to move his way forward. So we expect Rasmus to have a pretty good weekend here at Mid-Ohio, track he's most definitely familiar with. AMR safety team going to work here with Christian Bogle to get him refired. Driver's getting just that 1 lap in. I don't suppose any of the drivers put on fresh rubber in yesterday's practice session with 4 sets over the remaining 4 sessions here. This track has been notorious in terms of tires and exactly how to handle your fresh tire allotment, because you do want to have those fresh tires. They do benefit. But we oftentimes see a driver, if you are super quick in qualifying on that one set of tires, you won't go to that second set. Of course, 2 qualifying sessions, 1 for each race. Common thought, you work through 2 sets of fresh tires. Each qualifying run, where you qualify here is very similar to where you finish. A tough place to pass, so qualifying so crucial for the drivers getting themselves up front. So indeed, if you're able to be quick on that one set, we've seen that before. Kyle Kirkwood did it earlier this year where he was fast enough on the one set of tires. They didn't need to come in. They didn't need to make any adjustments to be able to get him to go quicker. He was able to save a fresh set of tires, crucial for race wins. As you saw from the video, Christian Bogle will be getting pulled off of the grass and getting refired, so he's back underway, and we'll get back to pit lane. Once our safety crew gets back into their positions, we'll be able to go back to green flag racing here. Qualifying for Indy Lights, the first of 2 races here this weekend as part of the VP Fuels RTI finale weekend. Final weekend for the Indy Lights program as part of the Road to Indy Anderson Promotions component. Of course, Anderson Promotions taking stewardship of the Indy Lights program back in 2014, debuting the Delora IL-15, and really after the hiatus of 2020 and some of the issues we had in 18 and 19 in terms of car count, Anderson Promotions really turning things back up over the last a year for certain. Of course, 12 drivers in the field, as many as 13 this particular year. Was a chance to get to 14, but that a couple of those extra rides didn't come to fruition. So 13 drivers we had on numerous occasions throughout the season, and a lot of momentum right now moving for next year. And we can be sure that the good folks at IndyCar will pick up that momentum that we've laid down and take it and run with it. A number of new teams potentially coming into the program for next year, which is big. Being told already there's a lot of interest in the seats that are available for next year. We could have as many as 18 or 19 seats available, depending on the expansion of some of the teams that we have this year. So things looking good for Indy Lights for 2022. Drivers back out onto the racetrack, having lost about 8 minutes of time, so definitely shortening up what would have been a extended 40-minute session. This is kind of where the strategists, as part of the team, and the engineers kind of make their money, right? Because all of a sudden you came in with a set plan. We got 40 minutes. We're going to do this many laps on this fresh set of tires, come in, pit, get back out onto the racetrack for that second run on fresh tires. Now, that 40-minute session really just became a 30-minute session for all intents and purposes. So this could be a little more intriguing in terms of strategy. .57 degrees here. Sunny with some cloud cover here in Mansfield. Mid-Ohio Sports Car course, a favorite for Kyle Kirkwood. Very strong. We were here earlier in the season. Of course, he comes in with a 15-point lead in the championship and a good opportunity to lock things down with a good run this afternoon. We'll get some lap times as they roll through here. Antonio Serravalle back, as I said, in the Pissarra Racing Machine. Manuel Suleiman and Rasmuth Lind again back to cap off the season with this great run to end the season. We hope to see both Rasmuth and Manuel for full-time seasons for next year, as well as Antonio Serravalle back with Pissarra Racing. They've talked about getting a second car for that team. Excellent shot coming through the final couple corners of this racetrack. That's the carousel, the right-hand sweeper, little left-hand kink of turn 14 back onto the front straightaway here. They'll go underneath the Cooper Tire Bridge. Shot there through turn 1, very quick part of this racetrack. Got to roll that speed through turn number 1 to get a potential set of a passing opportunity using push to pass coming down into turn number 2, the keyhole part of this racetrack. Downhill, off-camber, right-hander. And, of course, if you get out of that corner really well with a lot of forward momentum, you got that traction down, then you can get onto that push to pass. 50 extra horsepower for the drivers here in Indy Lights, then the opportunity to make the overtake down into turn number 4. Back up the hill through to turn number 5, cresting the top of the hill, getting the car to rotate again, back down into turn number 6. Right-hander that leads into the 7-8 complex, little right-left combo, or left-right combo, rather. Out of 6, over the crest of turn 7, 8. This is turn number 9, right-hander, another off-camber, downhill corner. Rear end can step away so quickly there. Track record of 110.807 set by Oliver Askew back in 2019. Again, as I say, without having IndyCar here, the level of grip that we're likely going to have is not going to be there. Although, by the time we get enough rubber down, we'll see whether or not we can get some good lap times. Kyle Kirkwood quickest in yesterday's practice session with a 112.288, a very green racetrack. Stingray Robb and Rasmus Lint were second and third, 112.4 and 112.6 respectively. Benjamin Peterson was fourth, David Malukas fifth. Sixth was Devlin DeFrancesco. Seventh, Robert McGinnis. Eighth, Daniel Frost. Ninth, Linus Lundqvist. 10th, Christian Bogle. 11th, Manuel Suleiman. 10th was Antonio Saravalli. Again, Saravalli hasn't driven his Indy Lights car in a while. Everybody else had a chance to do the West Coast swing in Portland and Laguna Seca. So you got to go a little further back to the last time that he was able to be on the racetrack, Saravalli. Daniel Frost, fast driver now, 113.15. Just starting to get things dialed in here a little bit. 113.154 for Frost. About a tenth quicker than David Malukas. Benjamin Pedersen in third, Devlin DeFrancesco fourth, and Linus Lundqvist fifth. Qualifying bonus point crucial between Kirkwood and Malukas. Kirkwood, of course, absolutely tremendous. The second half of the season he's been able to put together. I want to say only, I think, one finish in the last 14, not first or second. And that was leading at Road America when a minor mechanical issue put him on the sidelines. Either on the top of the box or P2 in every race. Just use that to get a firm grip on the championship. 15-point lead coming into the finale weekend. 64 points up for grabs. But with a field of 12, you're still going to get, decent points. You're not getting 0 points, let's put it that way, for finishing last. So we'll see how Kirkwood plays this opening round. Knowing Kyle, he'll just do what he does, put the hammer down and try to get that pole, walk away to a race win. It won't lock things down at that point, I don't think. All depends on where Malukas ends up finishing. He's got to give himself a shot. David, of course, he and the entire HMD and global team stepping things up midway through the race when we were here at Mid-Ohio. Earlier in the season, they definitely found some more speed. Kyle Kirkwood actually mentioned that in the post-race press conference at Worldwide Technology Raceway when we did the oval and the doubleheader there. Again, we were here at Mid-Ohio on the July 4th weekend. So much different temperatures, much different humidity. Frost on top of the 112.846. Benjamin Peterson in second. David Malukas third. Devlin DeFrancesco fourth. Manuel Suleiman fifth. No time yet for Kyle Kirkwood. I don't know that Kyle's still on the pit lane. We don't see the entire pit lane from the shot that we had to look at there. Oh, there's Kyle there. So Kyle just coming on track. Kirkwood now through turn number 5, looking back at program, and indeed, Kirkwood now onto the racetrack. So did spend some time on pit lane. Will it be a single tire run? I have to believe it that Kirkwood will try to save a set of tires. Not a bad move. I know he did it back in July, but still a pretty solid move here. He's got a 15-point lead. If he saves a fresh set of tires for one of these races, it's going to give him the grip he needs to do what he has to do. And he knows he's got the speed from yesterday, even on those used tires to be able to be up front, he could get the job done here with just one set. Kirkwood does have the opportunity to as well when it comes to strategy just to cover whatever Malukas does. As long as he's in the same strategy as Malukas, knowing he has that 15-point cushion, you can kind of play a little safer there. Malukas does go to P1 right now, 112.807. His teammate Benjamin Peterson now goes to P1 in the Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports, number 24. Peterson, probably the most improved driver for the second half of the season. It's been a really good package worth of performances for Peterson in that second half of the season. And I'll tell you, setting him up for what could be a championship contention battle next year. I think he'll be definitely one to watch for the title in 2022. Peterson, Malukas, McGuinness, Frost, and DeFrancesco, current top 5. Kirkwood has not yet put a lap in at full speed. I believe that's him coming through the final part of this racetrack now. Indy Kirkwood, his first lap at speed of 113.728, put him to P9. Kirkwood now up into the keyhole. Qualifying will really be kind of a telltale in terms of starting the storyline here, whether or not Kirkwood's on the full offensive or whether he's going to try to cover Malukas and be smart and potentially gain results he'll need to lock this thing down. And I say smart only because you'd be kind of playing it more safe. I think you almost say the smart way for Kirkwood would be to do what he's been doing, because everything he's done so far the second half of the season has been absolutely ideal. Look back to that opening weekend at Barber Motorsports Park in the first race of the season when he overcooked it into turn number 1 at the green flag and got into the back of Malukas. An uncharacteristic mistake for Kirkwood, although if you look back at his body of work, it has never started off as a super tear. The guy right out of the gate in both USF2000 and Indy Pro. A couple little issues here and there, but once he settled in, he got on a run where he was able to kind of take it all the way through to the finish. A tight battle for the championship for sure in Indy Pro 2000. But indeed, the scrap here is a good one in Indy Lights, and probably, obviously, the most lucrative for both the Malukas and Kirkwood at $1.25 million. Benjamin Peterson still on top right now. A 112.200. A little quicker than Kirkwood's pace yesterday. Now we've got a couple drivers into pit lane now. Let's see what we get in terms of drivers getting a new rubber. I'm looking down here. Further back in the grid, definitely new rubber going on. Not sure about the car we see here to the right of the screen. Just tire pressure adjustment at that point. Yeah, not seeing fresh rubber going on. I think that's one of the HMD cars. Hard to see with the light that we have here, the reflection of the light on the actual shot. Now, here comes some tires. No, indeed, fresh rubber going on. Yes, new tires. 20 minutes still to go. Kirkwood to second, 112.241 for Kirkwood. Peterson P1. Frost in third. DeFrancesco fourth. McGuinness fifth. Stingray Robb sixth. Seventh is Malukas. Eighth is Lint. Malukas with 11 laps already. Kirkwood only 4. Benjamin Peterson, 112.200, but not for long. Kyle Kirkwood, first driver into the 11s. A 111.900 for Kirkwood. So this is it. Can he use just a single set of tires and hold on to the pole position? If you're Malukas, you need that pole. You can't give him that point. Got to get the pole position here. But then again, you roll the dice on Kirkwood having better tires. Kirkwood could do it in both practice or both qualifying sessions. Just use one set to save a fresh set for each race. Talk about an advantage. Kirkwood 111.900, almost 0.3 quicker than Devlin DeFrancesco, 112.182. DeFrancesco now to second, Benjamin Peterson third, Daniel Frost fourth, and Robert McGinnis fifth. We talked at Mid-Ohio, and we've talked since then as we kind of foreshadowed and previewed down to this finale weekend that Andretti is incredibly good here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Right now they are first, second, fourth, and fifth. Only interloper in the Andretti Autosport run, Peterson for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports in third. And that's going to allow Kirkwood to potentially hold these tires. Everything going in the right way so far for Kirkwood. Malukas, we expect him in potentially for rubber. Still lots of time. $111.900 Kirkwood, a 112.182 for Devlin DeFrancesco. Stingray Rob for Hunko's Hollinger Racing into the pit lane as well. They'll go for fresh Cooper tires. Stingray very good yesterday in the practice session, second behind Kirkwood. Currently sitting in the sixth spot in that number 2 machine, the driver from Idaho. 112.780, about 0.8 behind. Rob, Malukas, and Lint all right around that 112.7, 112.8 area. Malukas needs to find some speed here. Rasmuth Lint into pit lane as well. You see a number of drivers, at least 5 that we can see into pit lane here now. Good shot at turn 9 again, final part of this racetrack now. Turns number 13 and 14, the carousel. And then the final right-hander. Number of drivers coming back into the pit lane again. Still 17 minutes to go. So David Malukas finally coming into pit lane. Malukas currently 7th right now, 112.807. So Malukas in that 79. Multi-time race winner. In fact, has won a ton of races here in 2021. It's been a tremendous season for David. He's, of course, a lot of rumors circulating about him making the jump to the NTT IndyCar Series next year as well. We'll see what happens over the next couple of months. We're definitely in silly season. Of course, drivers being announced. Most recently, Simon Pagenaud making the move from Team Penske to join Elio Castroneves at Meyershank Racing. Yeah, a lot more chips to fall to find out where our drivers are going to be. Potentially 3, at least the rumors around 3 of our Indy Lights drivers moving up to IndyCar next year. HMD and Global coming into pit lane as well, the entire crew. We've talked about the fact that Malukas came in, but also we're seeing Benjamin Peterson, Linus Lundqvist, and Manuel Suleiman all into pit lane. Yeah, full pit lane right now. Whether or not Kirkwood comes in, that'll be the interesting thing. Does he hold on to the one set of tires? There's Kirkwood over turn number 5 down to turn number 6. Currently P1 by 0.4 of a second. A 111.765. Kirkwood trying to do it on one set. I don't think he's going to change. He's looking pretty good here right now. 115. You can see the car sliding a little bit coming out of turn number 9 into Thunder Valley. 111.765. And that's it for Kirkwood. He'll work his way into the pit lane. Again, 15 minutes to go. Do they put rubber on for Kyle Kirkwood? Malukas has already done it. So if Kirkwood only wants to cover Malukas, essentially follow his strategy to try to stay right with him, knowing he has a 15-point lead, he would put rubber on and head back out. They do have tires laid out for him now. I can see that from here. So indeed, tires laid out for Kirkwood. Will he use them, or will they sit on pit lane? 0.4 of a second faster than Devlin DeFrancesco. That is a kind of a gap that I think would make an engineer and strategist consider just sitting on it and saying, you know what, we're not going to go. They will put the fresh Coopers on, though, for Kirkwood in that Road to Indy scholarship sponsored machine. Of course, 2 Indy Lights champion or Indy Pro 2000 scholarship champions in this field here this year. Of course, Kirkwood winning back in 2019. Stingray Robb, the 2020 champion, both those drivers with the scholarship money coming up from Anderson Promotions and Cooper Tires. Wow, Kirkwood, again, almost a half a second faster than DeFrancesco. See so many of these drivers are sitting on pit lane. Obviously, you go out to start the session here on fresh rubber. You lay those times down, get the banker laps in, get a feel for what the car is doing. If you think some minor changes that can be made, we'll see drivers with the shock cover coming off, the rear engine cover coming off, making some adjustments potentially to the dampers. Ride height, obviously, one of the things a lot of the teams can change and do change throughout a race weekend, try to get that car as low as possible. Keep an eye, though, on that pit stall of Kyle Kirkwood. Does he move? Because if he doesn't, he's going to have that fresh set of tires. And if he done it once in qualifying for race number 1, can he do it as well for qualifying for race number 2? Kirkwood remains in his pit box, 12, maybe 12 and a half minutes remaining. Christian Bogle back out on the track, a 1:14.010, the best for Bogle at this point. I want to say only a couple drivers on the racetrack right now. Based on a quick little count there on pit lane, it looks to me like at least 10 cars still on pit lane. Can't think that David Malukas is going to want to start back in the 7th spot. You got to believe he's going to think about coming back out onto the racetrack with a minor adjustment. Here comes at least one of the Andretti drivers rolling out. That's Robert McGinnis. McGinnis currently sitting in the 5th position with a 1:12.505. Time ticking away in qualifying for race number 1 for the Indy Lights drivers. The event set to go this afternoon at 1 p.m., so just after the lunch hour. They'll be back on the racetrack at 8:45 tomorrow morning for qualifying for race 2. Noon hour scheduled start time for Indy Lights. The race for Indy Lights right in between USF 2000 and Indy Pro will get done significantly early on Sunday, as we do have our championship banquet lined up for Sunday evening. And it's going to be a good one. Being told, I think we're sold out or oversold for seats, actually, for the banquet this year. So a lot of people ready to come in and celebrate this 2021 season. Kirkwood still on top of the 111.706, 4/10 faster than DeFrancesco. And as I said, the Andretti cars right there, 1:2.45. So definitely good handle on this particular racetrack. We know that HMD and Global stepped things up midway through the weekend, in the July 4th weekend, to find speed for the second half. But Andretti once again have rolled off really strong here in what are much different conditions than we had in July. Kirkwood is rolling. So Kyle Kirkwood will come out onto the racetrack. He will not save that fresh set. This is a track position race. There's no doubt about it. Mid-Ohio, a very tough place to pass if you qualify in the top 2, 3, 4. you're going to give yourself a good chance for either a race win or a podium. And I think right now, obviously the strategy, Kirkwood, hey, we're just going to cover. Malukas is going back out. We're going to go back out. If we can find a little bit more, we're already significantly ahead of him. I think he was over a second faster than Malukas that last session, or that last run, the first sticker tire run. Let's get out there. Let's make sure we have the pole. Let's get that bonus point. Right now, everything going well for Kyle Kirkwood as he tries to get his third straight Road to Indy championship. No other driver has done that in the history of this program, win all three in a row. Kirkwood looking to solidify his plans for the 2022 NTT IndyCar season. IndyCar grid expanding again for the next year. Just a lot of positivity around the IndyCar program here, which is so exciting. Good to see, of course, Junco's Hollinger Racing stepping back up to that program. Ricardo Juncos, who's been a big part of this Road to Indy for many, many years. A lot of championships coming up through the ranks in Indy Pro 2000 and Indy Lights. And to hook up with Brad Hollinger and get a chance to have Callum Ilott run for them next year. That program getting locked in. Callum had a couple of really good runs to cap off the season, so I think he'll, once he gets settled in and gets a feel for this track, will be able to get some success and find some footing to move forward with Junco's Hollinger Racing for next year. But a lot of seats opening up and a lot of cars available. It's going to be a big field next year in IndyCar, and again, we're looking forward to seeing so many of our graduates from Indy Lights be part of the program. It's been exciting to see. Of course, Colton Herta, Pato Award, two of the most successful we've had of recent years. Marinus VK, Oliver Askew, Jack Harvey. Potentially three more coming out of the program this year into that field next year. Time winding down, 8 minutes to go. Race 1 qualifying for Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires. This is the VP Racing Fuels GP of Mid-Ohio. Kirkwood a 111.706. Let's get some heat built into those tires and see what he does. At least one of the HMD cars still sitting on pit lane, I believe. Let's see what Malukas can do. As he works his way through turn number 5 and 6. He has got to find some more speed. His teammate Benjamin Peterson, the best out of that stable so far with a 112.200. Even Peterson, the fastest of that group, a half a second behind Kirkwood. Kyle trying to get the bonus point. Qualifying on the pole would put him in the catbird seat to get another race win. And to be honest, he just needs to leave race number 1 today with a 33-point lead. Only 32 points that you can get from a race, the most you can get. Qualifying on pole, winning the race, most laps led. We don't have a fast lap bonus for Indy Lights simply because of the fact that our push to pass is only offensive, so that if indeed a leader pulls away, he never has an opportunity to use push to pass, so it's not really a fair advantage for him, for them, the others, to be able to have that bonus point using the push to pass. So only 32 points up. So if Kyle Kirkwood can go 33 points up today, by the end of the day today, he will lock in this championship. Indeed, Kirkwood coming in with a 15-point lead. No movement yet in terms of fresh tires. 6 minutes to go. Those of you tuning in, we're just about 20 minutes away as well from the start of qualifying for the Indy Pro 2000 field. A couple of new drivers there as well. Great to have them with us. Jordan Missig, who ran a USF 2000 race at St. Petersburg a couple of years ago, running with Pabst Racing here this weekend. Missig in the number 19. Christian Brooks as well, making the jump up to Indy Pro 2000, where we expect to see him next year for exclusive Autosport. Brooks in the number 44, and then Anam Ahmed back as well running for Juncos Racing this particular weekend in the number 22. Kiffin Simpson not finishing up the season, so that ride became available. And good to see Anam back with us once again. All right, here we go. Field starting to dial things in on fresh tires. Daniel Frost and Robert McGinnis have moved up to second and third. Andretti, 1, 2, 3, 4. Malukas, though, to P1. David Malukas just laid down the fast lap of 111.525, jumping from 7th to 1st. To inject a bit of excitement into the final minutes of this qualifying run. David Malukas almost 2/10 quicker than Kirkwood, but he has not put his fast lap down yet. Again, Kirkwood back onto the racetrack, electing not to sit on those fresh tires. Fight still on as Malukas peaking the rev limiter for us here in the booth. 111.525 for Malukas in the HMD Motorsports machine, the driver out of Chicago, Illinois. 8 race wins on the season. Actually, it might be 7 wins. I'll have to look at my notes for that. 7 wins for Malukas. 9, I think, for Kirkwood. Malukas, Frost, Kirkwood, McGinnis, and Peterson. Benjamin Peterson again in the top 5. Been a great run for the second half of the season for Benjamin. Number of podium finishes. Love to get that first win. And again, part of the graduating class into that kind of second-year group. Sophomores in Indy Lights next year. I think he'll definitely be a championship contender. No doubt about it. 3 minutes to go. Malukas, Frost, Kirkwood, Peterson, McGinnis. As Peterson goes quicker again. HMD Motorsports making some adjustments to their race cars. The HMD Global team dialing things in. There you go, P1 and P4. Kirkwood back to the top, 111.261. Kyle Kirkwood responding to the speed of Malukas. Two and a half minutes remaining. Kirkwood coming through the keyhole. Laid down a tremendous lap there, almost 3/10 quicker than Malukas as the championship contenders P1 and P2 in the timesheets right now. Frost third, Peterson fourth, DeFrancesco fifth, McGinnis sixth, Stingray Robb seventh. Linus Lundqvist down in 11th. That's a big surprise to me. Lundqvist third in the points coming into the championship. Has that pretty much locked up. If he would come back, he'd definitely be a championship contender as well. But Linus struggling to find some speed here today. He is 1.8 seconds back. 113 flat, the best for Linus Lundqvist. You wonder what's going on there. Let's see if he pulls out a magic lap here in the final couple of minutes. Kirkwood still on top with a 111.210. He went quicker, in fact. 111.21. About 4/10 off the qualifying record set by Oliver Askew. Driver off to the inside of turn number 1. That might be Stingray Robb. Yeah, so Stingray Robb has looped the car coming through turn number 1. He's off to the inside of the racetrack. A minute remaining. I don't know that we would go full course yellow at that point to the inside of the racetrack. Let these drivers finish off their qualifying runs. We'll see what they elect to do, but indeed that car very much out of harm's way on the inside. Hard to get there as it is. We know that we saw Billy Fraser loop it around there as well. Nope, I'm going red. Yeah, indeed, red flag being thrown out here for the car in turn 1. That is Stingray Robb, who's looped the car on the exit of the corner. That's going to lock things down, folks, and that is going to mean Kyle Kirkwood on the pole position, giving himself another bonus point as well. Kirkwood a 111.210, 3/10 faster than David Malukas, who came back out, went P1 for a time. Stingray Robb went to third, and that is going to hurt because he, bringing the red flag, is going to lose that lap time. Stingray was P3 at the time of the spin, with an opportunity to have a second row start. Good lap for Stingray, but loops it around, and with that red flag will lose his fast lap, I believe. Not sure whether that's calculated into the live timing I'm looking at as of yet. But Stingray Robb was third on the order. Daniel Frost fourth. Robert McGinnis in fifth. Benjamin Peterson in sixth spot. Devlin DeFrancesco seventh. Manuel Suleiman eighth. Rasmus Lint ninth. Linus Lundqvist in 10th. Christian Bogle 11th. And Antonio Saravalli in 12th. And you have to believe that Stingray Robb coming across after getting that magic lap saying, you know what, I got an opportunity here. I'm going to hang it out there and push super hard going into turn number one. The car went around. And again, red flag coming out. But what that means, the bottom line is, if we're still talking championship, Kyle Kirkwood, the bonus point once again, and of course, starting on the pole position, which leads to an opportunity for a strong finish here that could put him in a spot to potentially clinch the championship by the end of the day. Not very likely with Malukas being right there. Even if they finish 1-2, it'll still be open to Sunday. But Kyle Kirkwood with the fast lap, 111.210, fast driver in Indy Lights. And qualifying for race number one. David Malukas in second. Stingray Robb third. We'll see if that adjusts after the red flag, and indeed it just did. So let me update you. They took away the fast lap of Stingray Robb. He's going to drop down to seventh position from third. Robb obviously with the speed in the Juncos Hollinger machine. Just that minor miscue to bring out the red flag with just less than a minute remaining. That moves Daniel Frost up to third. Robert McGinnis in fourth. His last lap, his best. And Benjamin Peterson finishing up in P5. So it'll be Kirkwood alongside Malukas for race one this afternoon. Frost and McGinnis on row 2. Peterson and DeFrancesco row 3. Robb and Suleiman row 4. Lint and Lundqvist on row number 5. And Bogle and Saravalli on row number 6. Again, the drivers in the Indy Lights program will, folks, be back on the racetrack at 1 o'clock. We'll have a pre-show before that. Should be a pretty exciting race to see who takes that gap. Will it be Malukas getting closer to Kirkwood, or will Kirkwood pad his opportunity to get that championship on Sunday? We're getting ready to go again here. About 13 minutes time on Road to Indy TV. We've got the drivers in the Indy Pro 2000 category getting set to roll out for their qualifying session for race number one. Otherwise, a full day of action. Hope you're enjoying it here so far for the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Coast. Stay tuned, folks. Lots more to come here on Road to Indy TV. Welcome back to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Coast. Of course, folks, my name is Rob Howden here for Road to Indy TV and what is the VP Fuels RTI Finale Weekend. Championships, of course, being crowned on Sunday, potentially today in the USF2000 program. But we have, of course, qualifying rolling out. We got the 3 main events today, qualifying tomorrow, and 3 more main events. A lot of action for you here on Road to Indy TV. This is one of the best racetracks in the country in terms of an undulating natural terrain road course. Mid-Ohio is so tough for the drivers. Qualifying, though, crucially important. If you've ever watched any of the races here, you know the qualifying up front is key. There's not a lot of places to overtake at this particular track, so qualifying is going to be very, very important. We already saw some great qualifying run for Kyle Kirkwood out of the gate, getting himself on the pole position. He and David Malukas back and forth late in the run there in Indy Lights. Kirkwood, of course, coming away with the bonus point, very crucial in that championship battle. Drivers now rolling out here in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Both Indy Pro and Indy Lights were on the racetrack yesterday for one practice session. USF2000 waiting till this morning at 11:40 to get their first session in. So this will be qualifying for the drivers here in Indy Pro, and as we know, there's a pretty tight championship battle here as well. And interesting about the championship battle, it kind of plays to what we've seen in the championship and what people learn coming through the Road to Indy. The 2 drivers battling for the title here in Indy Pro, the last 2 champions of USF2000. Braden Eves, of course, champion in 2019. Christian Rasmussen, champion in 2020. They come in here right now separated by just 18 points. Rasmussen with the lead coming in. That's a fairly comfortable lead, but you never know what happens. We have a good field of cars, 12 in total here in Indy Pro 2000. So a last place finish and then a first place for the other could bring things back in. Crazier things have happened in championship finales. So really it comes down to the bonus point first and foremost as we get set to go qualifying. Drivers on the racetrack right now, just getting things rolling here. First couple of minutes just in the books, warming up the Cooper tires. First time on the fresh rubber for most of these drivers. I don't think anybody went to fresh rubber in the practice session yesterday afternoon. All those guys using a carryover set of tires from New Jersey Motorsports Park. This all setting up for a 2:05 green flag start time for race number 1 of the doubleheader here this weekend. David Malukas with the qualifying record from back in 2018, a 1:14.857. And the quickest driver yesterday in that practice session was indeed Artem Petrov from Exclusive Autosport. He has had a very strong season. Some race wins, a little bit of an up-and-down deal. One in Indianapolis, one at New Jersey Motorsports Park. That hard wreck into the wall at Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, the Oval event. But he has come out of the gate strongly here with a 1:17.7 yesterday. Both he and Reese Gold looked very good. In the battle between Christian Rasmussen and Braden Eves, Rasmussen was the best of the 2, finishing in 3rd in that qualifying session, that practice session. Braden Eves was in the 9th position. Driver off, I believe, on the outside of turn number 1. That is the number 3, turn 3 Motorsports entry of James Rowe. He has gone off on cold tires, and that's going to tighten things up a little bit. We saw that happen in Indy Lights as well as an issue on the racetrack. So, indeed, James Rowe off the racetrack in turn number 1. So that's very likely going to bring everybody back to pit lane. No one really able to get anything in there. A couple drivers for the opening lap. Jacob Abel, Hunter McElroy not even get a single lap in, and James Rowe was literally just coming out on his opening circuit. They'll get that car out of the gravel trap, allow James to get back there. The team will go to work cleaning out the radiator ducting to make sure there's no gravel up in there because he obviously went all the way through. And you can see from the gravel trap really just overcooked it into the corner and potentially went straight off. So not sure what happened quite there with James Rowe, but again, the AMR IndyCar safety crew here. Championship battle. Hunter McElroy back in the 3rd spot with 347 points. Reese Gold with 337. And Artem Petrov with 329 points. But again, just the 66 points up for grabs. And the key is that with the 12 drivers in the field, we'll go with Rasmussen. Let's just say Christian ends up finishing last in both races. to set the points, that at 12 would still be 9 points. So at the very least, he's going to have 18 points when he's all said and done here. So that's kind of, you have to bring that into play when we're talking about the championship calculations, because he's going to at least get those 9 points per race. All the drivers working their way back into pit lane, however, though, as we get set to go. 3 drivers, one to have back, one to have moved up, one to have in the series. Let's put it that way, because first and foremost, Inam Ahmed, who we had earlier in the season racing with RP Motorsport USA, back with us. He's taken over the number 22 machine. Manuel Suleiman from Juncos Racing. Manuel, of course, now running Indy Lights with HMD. And Inam Ahmed, a very talented driver from Europe, coming back with us again. We'd love to have him for a full season next year, but Inam in that number 22 for Juncos Hollinger Racing. As well, Christian Brooks, who we've seen the last couple of years in USF2000, multi-time race winner in the USF2000 program. He has moved up with exclusive Autosport within the team. We expect to see him in Indy Pro 2000. So final race of the season, not in the championship battle. We've seen that happen so many times. Drivers jumping up that next level to kind of dial things in for the new year. So Christian Brooks will be behind the wheel of his normal 44 in the Indy Pro 2000 category. And then good to have Jordan Missig with us here as well, a driver out of Illinois who has had some success in the Formula Regional Americas program in the number 19. He'll run with Pabst Racing this weekend, so good to have Jordan with us this weekend as well, bringing our car count to 12 to cap off the season. Trying to get some of that gravel pulled out of the machine of James Rowe. I want to say he may be out of the car already at this point. Trying to see if in the shadow that's his helmet still in there or not. But again, a stoppage here for Indy Pro 2000 just as things were getting underway. And again, just like we saw in the Indy Lights series, this kind of makes things up, kind of changes the strategy a bit. And indeed, he is out of the car, and they're going to have to bring the actual tow truck in to grab him now. So not sure what happened on the entry into turn number 1, whether something potentially broke on the race car that looped him around. But indeed, that's going to have to come in on the hook. So that's going to be a little bit longer of a stoppage here for whatever happened with James Rowe. Safety crew getting in there quickly. They'll get that car tied up on and get him off the racetrack so we can get back underway. Indeed, doing a good job getting that done quickly. We'll get the car cinched down on both sides. Get back rolling. Bonus point crucial, of course, for this fight between Braden Eves and Christian Rasmussen. Both drivers want a piece of that bonus point to try to see if they can't get themselves where they need to be heading into the race this afternoon. It's been a long time, as we talked about, since these drivers have been on the racetrack. And that's, I think, one of the key components is the fact that it's been over a month since the drivers in this Indy Pro category have been on track, similar to USF2000 in the fact that it's been New Jersey Motorsports Park, which was at the end of August. So it's been over a month since they've been on the racetrack. Of course, one of the driver probably coming in with the most momentum in terms of success would be Hunter McElroy. He's had some pretty good runs, scoring victories at Mid-Ohio, and of course the win in the final round there at New Jersey Motorsports Park as well. Good to get things back going in the right direction for McElroy. Braden Eves was as well on the podium, finished second in race number 3 at New Jersey, so a bit of momentum for him. A couple of podium finishes at New Jersey for Braden Eves. Christian Rasmussen was the driver who had trouble the second 2 races at New Jersey. Issues on the racetrack, contact in both of those races taking him out, which really brought the championship much closer than it probably would have been coming to Mid-Ohio in terms of the success that Rasmussen's had throughout the season. Won a number of races here this year. I want to say 5 or 6, I think 5 races, I think. Yeah, he won at St. Petersburg. Was able to score a victory as well at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2 wins there. Scored, of course, the win in the Freedom 90, which I think was big for him. And then came back with a win at Road America, the second race at Road America, and then the victory, of course, at the first weekend here at Mid-Ohio. And one of the things that's cool that he was able to do, and Braden Eves doing the same thing, was being able to win in all 3 of the different disciplines that we have in this program. Natural terrain road courses, the, of course, temporary street circuits, and then on the oval as well. AMR safety crew doing a great job of getting turn 1 cleaned up so that we can get back to it again here. Drivers getting ready to roll, but losing a ton of time from this session. Indeed, 17 minutes remaining on the session at this point. Green flag flying. We're going to get back underway. Drivers will quickly get onto the racetrack. Again, changing things strategy-wise. Do you use just one set of tires? Can you split the 17 minutes up and now go, 8.5 and 8.5, and then potentially still try that second run on sticker tires? We'll see what happens. We'll see what plays. And based on the fact that they are leading the team championship right now, Exclusive Autosport with the front pit spots, able to get their drivers out first. And in fact, Exclusive Autosport looking to potentially here in race number 1 this afternoon, clinching that team championship, will be the first for that team, as they currently hold a pretty sizable lead over Hunko's Hollinger Racing and J. Howard Driver Development in the team championship standings. Rasmussen, Eves, McElroy, Gold, and Petrov, top 5 drivers in points. But this is really going to come down to a fight between Rasmussen and Eves. And again, this opening race this afternoon is going to be key. This is what's really going to – it's either going to allow Rasmussen to go into Sunday with a solid cushion or tighten things back up big time and make it really a head-to-head battle. 2:05 scheduled green flag time for the drivers in that particular race. Hope you join us here on the Road to Indy TV app or IndyPro2000.com or RoadToIndy.tv. Lots of great ways to watch all the action from this VP Fuels RTI finale weekend. Parker Thompson will be joining me later on in the broadcast. We'll do the pre-shows, and the only events that he will not be with me will be for the Indy Pro 2000 class. I'll call those myself. Otherwise, Parker will sit in as my driver analyst. So again, finally back to green with only 15.5 minutes remaining in this session after a odd incident in turn number 1 with James Rowe in the turn 3 motorsports machine as he went off in turn 1. We'll wait for some lap times to get in here again. Just the one win in the books the first time by, and a lot of guys hadn't even been on the racetrack yet to even get that opening lap in before that red flag came out. A full afternoon of racing action for you, as I had said before, in terms of main event times. Wrapping things up here right now with qualifying. But as we kind of look forward to see what we've got in terms of races this afternoon, we got a bunch for you, and it's going to be a lot of fun. USF2000, I believe, kicking things off. No, in fact, it will be Indy Lights. USF2000, because they had the 3 sessions today getting flipped to the tail, it'll be a 1 o'clock start time for Indy Lights, race number 1. Kyle Kirkwood versus David Malukas. Kirkwood starting from the pole there. 2:05, we'll have our opening race for the drivers in Indy Pro 2000. We'll cap off the day with a battle from 3:50 to 4:30 in the afternoon for USF 2000. That again, that title not near as tight as the other two. Kiko Porter with a 45-point lead coming in here on Michael D'Orlando to see who takes away the scholarship to go to Indy Pro 2000 racing. One driver into pit lane. Hunter McElroy with the fast lap so far, a 1:18.427. Practice yesterday on a very green racetrack. Drivers getting down into the high 117s. Again, qualifying record of 1:14.8 for David Malukas. Different car package back then, so I don't see us getting anywhere close to that. We didn't do that back in July, so that record probably going to stand for quite a while as we made some significant evolutions to the package for Indy Pro 2000 coming into 2021, and it has obviously developed a great race car, great racing, and some excellent reliability and consistency as well. Artem Petrov now to the top as he was yesterday. A bit quicker, actually. 1:17.53, did a 1:17.7 yesterday afternoon. So Petrov a bit quicker in the exclusive Autosport machine. Petrov with no chance of getting that championship after a couple, as I said, kind of an up and down season, but more ups than downs. But the downs were enough to keep him out of the championship contention. Currently 5th coming in. I'm sure he'd like to cap off the season with a couple of race wins. That would lock the team championship in for exclusive Autosports as well. Petrov still with an opportunity, I think. Yeah, he could easily jump. He could probably even jump up into maybe even third in points because he's only 18 points behind Hunter McElroy. So an opportunity for Petrov to go to the top three. McElroy, Gold, and Petrov separated by, as I said, just the 18 points. So indeed, Petrov with a couple of big wins, especially with the pole position too, could help him out there, getting himself up to P3. Multi-time winner in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Debuted with us at the end of 2019. Had a strong run last year with Juncos Racing. And won a couple of races with Exclusive Autosport this year. Reese Gold now to the top of the chart with a 117.507. Petrov second, Braden Eves third. Christian Brooks up to fourth now, 117.84. Brooks getting his first laps in a Indy Pro 2000 car yesterday here at Mid-Ohio. Just was getting a feel for the car at this racetrack. What are the braking zones? Where do I need to brake? How much speed can I carry through? When do I pick the throttle back up? So much differences in terms of USF 2000 and Indy Pro. But the differences between the two cars, this car really more of everything. It may even be just a little bit easier to drive simply because of the fact there's so much downforce, more grip with the bigger tires, better brakes. You got to hustle this thing around, though, that's for sure. Juncos Racing team coming into pit lane. Same goes, I think, for at least one of the Exclusive Autosport drivers I see coming in. Diane Swintel down on pit lane giving me some insight into what she's seeing down there. Diane, of course, a core component of our communications team here on the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Anam Ahmed going to Scuff Tires for this particular session. You got to think that he may be looking to save a set for the race. Christian Rasmussen now to the top, 117.286 for Rasmussen. Bonus point would be big for him. Artem Petrov, P2, by only 0.04 of a second. Braden Eves up to third now, 117.427 for Braden. Reese Gold in fourth. Christian Brooks fifth. Abel sixth. Anam Ahmed seventh. Wyatt Prokachik eighth. Jack William Miller ninth. Hunter McElroy in 10th. And Jordan Missig 11th. James Rowe with that incident. We'll see if they're able to get that thing repaired and get him back out to get a couple of laps in. But it may just be a 12th position start in race one for James Rowe and then get him back out onto the racetrack for qualifying tomorrow morning. Again, after this session's done, we'll go on a bit of a break. 1 o'clock scheduled start time for Indy Lights Race 1 here on Road to Indy TV. And again, shout out to those of you who are tuning in on your mobile device or potentially on your desktop back home. Watch it on the app. Either the websites, of course, with live timing, USF2000.com, IndyPro2000.com, IndyLights2000.com. You can watch it there as well with live timing and scoring, or RoadToIndy.tv, all the ways you can tune into the broadcast. Artem Petrov, that team, the Exclusive Autosport crew, bolting on fresh sticker Coopers. Braden Eves now up to second. How about first and second in the championship, separated by just 0.08 of a second right now with 8.5 minutes remaining. Christian Rasmussen P1, Braden Eves in second, Artem Petrov third, Christian Brooks fourth. Exclusive Autosport very strong. Second, third, and fourth right now. New tires for Christian Rasmussen as well. Again, 0.08 of a second separating Rasmussen and Eves, currently at the top of the charts with just under 8 minutes remaining. Christian Brooks, I believe, into pit lane as well here, the number 44. They'll put fresh stickers on for Christian as well, currently in the third spot. Christian Brooks looking very good right now. Christian Brooks, if you look back at his resume, what he's done coming up. It's interesting that it would not surprise me that he'll get more comfortable with a higher horsepower race car. Instead of coming into a Formula Ford or F1600 or that kind of thing that some drivers have done, coming out of karting as a young driver, Christian Brooks actually jumping into that Global Rallycross, the Red Bull Global Rallycross program in their GRC Light series. So used to all that horsepower, sliding the car around, then made a move to F4, was decided to go racing with open wheels, then of course moved into exclusive autosport, was able to win late last year at St. Petersburg, had a couple of wins at St. Pete earlier this year here as well. This is a really interesting transition to see Christian Brooks pick this up so quickly and be so strong right now in qualifying here. Exclusive, of course, with great race cars, but I'll tell you, Brooks dialing things in. Rasmussen, Eves, Brooks, Petrov, your top four. McElroy now up into the fifth spot. Hunter McElroy for Pabst Racing to P5, less than a half a second back. Let's see what happens. I guess fresh rubber coming on for these drivers. Eves, Petrov, Rasmussen all putting on fresh boots. Let's see who's made the adjustments to be quick. There goes Christian Brooks peeling away from pit lane as well with fresh rubber. Brooks currently sitting P3. Had actually just turned his fast lap of 117.237, just over 2.5 tenths back. He'll come back out of the racetrack, get those tires up to temp. He slides in behind, I think, either Reese Gold or Anam Ahmed, one of the Juncos Hollinger cars. Got to give yourself that gap you need. You don't want to get caught up by anybody else. That's crucial. Again, we'll wait a couple laps. It's going to come down to the end on this one here. Less than 5.5 minutes remaining now. Qualifying for Indy Pro 2000. The race, the VP Racing Lubricants Grand Prix of Mid-Ohio. Qualifying for the 3 races today will be in the books here. We'll look at start time of around 1 o'clock. Being told we're now live out to the PA here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us. My name is Rob Howden. Parker Thompson will be joining me throughout the weekend as well. We're, of course, streaming live here on the Road to Indy TV program, the app, and all the websites. But thrilled to be able to have things dialed in now that you can now hear us trackside. Hope you're having a good time so far. Gorgeous day here at Mid-Ohio, just like it was yesterday. Temperature on the way up. 64 degrees right now. Ambient potential to get to 77 later on today. And we're thrilled to be here with this VP Fuels Road to Indy finale weekend. Thank you so much for those of you. I know the track available, of course, to all season ticket holders. It opened up late as well for those wanting to come in simply with tickets, weekend tickets. We're glad to have you here with us. We see a lot of the RVs out here this weekend. I think that's awesome that you guys are here with us. Qualifying on the racetrack right now, as we said, Artem Petrov has gone to P1, a 116.872 for the exclusive Autosport drivers. He is able to go about a tenth quicker than Christian Rasmussen. Braden Eves into the third spot. Reese Gold now fourth. Jacob Abel in fifth. Three and a half minutes remaining. Yeah, Artem Petrov laying down a 116.477. Braden Eves now up into second. Jacob Abel goes to third. 116.84 for Eves, 116.96 for Jacob Abel. And again, excitement up front here. Christian Rasmussen goes down to fourth. Anam Ahmed now to P5. Let's wait on Christian Brooks in the 44. He's just getting those fresh Coopers up to temp. He came in a little bit later than everybody else. Less than 3 minutes to go. Again, for those of you ready to tune in for some racing this afternoon, 12:30 will be the start time for the pre-show here on the Road to Indy TV program for the Indy Lights race. So 12:30 pre-show start time. Hope you tune in and join us. I know that we'll be on Rev TV as well up in Canada. We'll get a chance to say hi to all our Canadian race fans. Those of you who are not here, of course, trackside with us throughout the U.S. and internationally as well. You can tune into all the Road to Indy channels and, of course, the Road to Indy TV app. If you haven't downloaded it yet, best way to be able to follow everything that we do on the Road to Indy. And although there won't be a ton of content, of course, into the off-season, a lot of stuff going on, we do have more stuff that we'll be providing you with throughout the off-season. I'll be doing my Road to Indy Insider podcast throughout the off-season as well. More time to do that during the summer rush of racing. It's been a busy fall season, last couple of months through the end of summer and into early fall here. Artem Petrov, P1. Christian Rasmussen fighting back to P2 by just over a tenth. A 1:16.595 for Rasmussen to a 1:16.441 for Artem Petrov. Petrov wanting to cap off this season in style. Reese Gold third, Braden Eves fourth, Jacob Abel fifth. Still haven't seen that next big fast lap out of Christian Brooks. His fast lap coming on lap number 8, right before he pitted for fresh tires. So he'll have to find some open track. Quick lap there for Jack William Miller as well on the Miller Vinatieri Motorsports number 40. He's gone to P6, a 1:16.995. Top 10 drivers within 9/10 of a second. Time winding down, final minute for Indy Pro 2000 qualifying, the opening race of the doubleheader. All 3 series will qualify for their second race early tomorrow morning. Make sure you follow all of our social media channels as well to be able to pick up exactly what's going on race-wise. Artem Petrov still leading the way with a 1:16.441. Let's see if anybody has anything here on the final circuits. Braden Eves goes back to third. Eves to P3. He needs that pole, that bonus point. 1:16.660 for Braden Eves. I forgot, right back at it as well. 11:45. I said that we're back for pre-show at 12:30. We actually have another show at 11:45 for qualifying for USF 2000. Busy day for the USF 2000 kids as they've got all 3 sessions today. They did not practice yesterday afternoon, so they were on track practicing this morning at 8:40. So they do have their qualifying session at 11:45. So I misstepped there. But an hour away from another session, 11:45 for drivers in USF 2000. We'll follow that up, of course, with a 12:30 preview show start time for Indy Lights. Checkered flag flying to end the session. Artem Petrov still on the racetrack as P1. Everybody else has come through. Who else still to come? Jack William Miller gets a little bit more on the final lap. Christian Brooks jumps up as well. So Jack William Miller had gone to P5, but Brooks going quicker on his final lap. He'll go to P5 now, 1:16.817. Jack William Miller back down to 6th. But as all the drivers are done, it's a pole position for Artem Petrov with the number 42 machine. A 1:16.441. Petrov will start on the front row alongside Christian Rasmussen. Row 2, Braden Eves and Reese Gold. So Rasmussen and Eves, the 2 championship contenders, 2nd and 3rd respectively in the qualifying order. Christian Brooks on his debut qualifies P5, 1:16.817 for Brooks in the 44. Jack William Miller in 6th spot. Jacob Abel in 7th. Anam Ahmed 8th. Wyatt Prokachik in 9th. Hunter McElray in 10th. And Jordan Missick 11th. An issue, as we said, for James Rowe Jr. in that number 3 machine in the opening corner. Something potentially broke down in turn 1. They'll get that repaired. He'll start from 12th in race number 1 this afternoon. But again, as I said, we are off air for maybe around an hour. 11:45 Eastern time here at Mid-Ohio, getting back onto it again with USF 2000. They'll have their qualifying session before we go racing with those drivers at about 3:05, I believe, this afternoon. For those of you who are dialing in for the rest of the day, 12:30 we'll start the pre-show for the opening race of the Indy Lights doubleheader here at Mid-Ohio. That race set to go green at about 1 o'clock. Again, 12:30 start time for the pre-show. We'll follow that race up with the first of 2 for Indy Pro 2000. 2:05 scheduled start time Eastern. And then 3:50 is actually the start time for USF 2000. 3 more races as we go wheel-to-wheel racing for the first time on the weekend. And capping off the 2021 Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires schedule. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. Qualifying done for Indy Pro, qualifying done for Indy Lights. And we'll wrap up qualifying at 11:45. Join us back here again on Road to Indy TV. My name's Rob Howden. It'll be USF 2000 qualifying next up.